On this week's 5 Minutes of Cloud, we want to talk about cloud strategy. Often when people start talking about strategy, I think we start getting into the weeds. Oh, we're just sort of thinking blue sky and coming up with new ideas that may not have any grounding in reality. But actually, I think strategy is a very important part of any cloud deployment, any cloud delivery practice, because often we forget about it. We start getting down into the weeds thinking about the tools rather than thinking about how this is going to apply to the business. I think we need to really start with an idea and understanding of what it is that we're trying to accomplish with our cloud. Are we just looking at cost savings? Is it a lift and shift process where we want to get rid of our hardware and not have to deal with some of that low-lying infrastructure anymore? That's great. That might actually be appropriate. Are we trying to maybe accelerate our time to market, improve the efficiency of our development staff effectively, and get features out more quickly? These are good things, and the first part of a strategy is understanding how those pieces fit together to help you define then what tools, what components, what services you need to implement. The biggest impact of any cloud deployment is the fact that you're going to change how your staff interacts. You're going to change how your developers work. Possibly they need to take on some of the operational tasks. More likely, though, I find that developers do not want to have to be operators. Often we have to show our operators a new way of consuming resources and managing those resources. Cloud changes the mindset of what resources are and resource ownership. And we have to be willing as an enterprise to say, top to bottom, we're going to embrace this new strategy and technology model. Because if we don't do that, we're going to find ourselves in, I think, some real trouble as the cloud consumption and deployment continues. So these pieces really need to fit together effectively to implement our strategy. And implementation of an architecture of an actual strategy are sort of the next steps in the process. But first, we really have to understand what our goals are. We have to make sure that we agree as a community and as a company when we're talking about a company's strategy, not just the tools that are going to be used, but how people are going to interact with those tools, what that has to mean in terms of feature acceleration. It changes how people interact. Just as an example, often people think, oh, we're going to do agile development. And so the development staff often is very happy to use that model because it means that there's more flexibility and there's a greater understanding for how software is developed and delivered. It's very hard to actually define exactly what software can be written in what period of time unless you've written that code before, because there are so many variables and ways of approaching a problem and little interactions and bugs that creep into code that are not intentional. The problem comes in when then the product management staff, the staff that's trying to understand what features they can talk to their customers about, and the sales staff wants to be able to go and sell, often there's still a question of, well, what date can we release that feature because I want to go tell my customers that this is coming. Those sorts of interactions are actually really difficult because the agile process that the development team has decided to use doesn't map to how the marketing team wants to message that resource and how the sales team needs to sell and then be compensated on a new feature. So it really is an end-to-end strategy that has to happen to really make cloud and cloud models make sense. So that's what I want to leave you with. Think about how the strategy fits together, because that's what's going to define how your business can really get the most value out of your cloud environments. So this has been Robert Starmer bringing another episode of 5 Minutes of Cloud. Thank you so much for watching. And if you've gotten to this point, please don't forget to subscribe. Click the little bell if you're watching this on YouTube so that you'll actually get notified of the next session, the next episode that we release for you. We also have a newsletter, and that newsletter we release content that actually you can't get anywhere else at the moment, although we probably will eventually release it sometime later. But if you really want timely information about cloud services, you really should sign up for our newsletter as well. You can get that at our website, kumul.us. We look forward to having you join us on this cloud journey.